يلا نشبط ايد بايد على الدبكة العربية، ما بتعجبني من الدبكات الا الدبكات الشامية، ما بتعجبني من الدبكات الا الدبكات الشامية. على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، عالدبكة هات ايدك يا سمرة يا جميلة. على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، عالدبكة هات ايدك يا سمرة يا جميلة. عالدبكة هات ايدك، الله من عنده يزيدك، الله من عنده يزيدك. عالدبكة هات ايدك، الله من عنده يزيدك، الله من عنده يزيدك. بتريدي وبريدك وبغني وتغنيلي، وبغني وتغنيلي. على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، على ام المناديل، عالدبكة هات ايدك يا سمرة يا جميلة. شاب الاسمر جنني يا عيوني، سلب لي عقلي مني، الله الله، غيره ما بهوى شبان يا عيوني، وما بريده يبعد عني، الله الله، وحياة الله، الله الله، دخيل الله، الله الله. الشاب الاسمر جنني يا عيوني، سلب لي عقلي مني، الله الله، غيره ما بهوى شبان يا عيوني، وما بريده يبعد عني، الله الله، دخيل الله، الله الله، وحياة الله، الله الله. دخلك يا
Welcome everyone to Zoom Palestine. Welcome. I'm sorry I didn't send the notice out earlier. I was feeling I'm coming down with a little cold, so I'm going to be drinking a lot. So I wasn't feeling that great last night. I didn't know whether I'd be able to make it this morning, but here I am. And hopefully I'll be able to make a YouTube of this. Sorry for the technical problems sending out last week's session. My computer was too full. I was out of storage, so I couldn't do a lot of the functions, but I just got a new external hard drive yesterday, so hopefully I'll be able to turn last week's session on 9/11 and Israel. That was very important program into a YouTube so that you'll actually be able to see it. And today we're doing another important session which affects all of us who have any kind of phone, particularly Apple products and iPhone. Some of you may have seen in the news this week the news that Apple's iPhone has a major problem with security. And actually, earlier in the summer, in July, it came out that problem with the major blinking red 5-alarm fire problem with iMessage security. And there was an article in the Business Insider in July that pointed out a number of problems. So let me share that article with you, because that article revealed that there was a bigger problems than what people were led to believe. So let's see if I can find that article. So Apple's iPhones are a lot less secure than Apple says, according to a new report. Apple has a major blinking red 5 fire alarm problem with iMessage security, one cybersecurity researcher said. An iMessage security exploit was used by an Israeli spyware firm to give hackers access to iPhones. Apple's iPhone isn't as secure as Apple says it is, according to a bombshell new report from a group of media outlets and Amnesty International. Apple has a major blinking red 5-alarm fire problem with iMessage security, Citizens Lab senior research fellow Bill Marsack said on Sunday. Hackers were reportedly able to remotely access and replicate data from phones tied to 37 people, primarily reporters and executives, using a software tool named Pegasus, created by the NSO group out of Israel. And what I found interesting when I was researching this to report to you, that the fact that Pegasus and NSO came from Israel was omitted in most reports. Israel successfully whitewashed its name out of the media. In discussing this, I found that quite interesting. So it talks about the NSO group, but not saying it's out of Israel. The software is sold to governments and is considered a military-grade hacking service. With Pegasus, hackers are able to infect phones with the so-called zero-click text through iMessage, meaning the target user doesn't even have to interact with the text to have their phone breached. So you don't have to do anything. It just does it. Moreover, the report found that even the most up-to-date firmware and iPhone hardware can be breached by Pegasus. Forensic reports completed by Amnesty International and verified by Citizens Lab found that even iPhones running iOS 14.6, the latest version of Apple's mobile operating system, were susceptible to being hacked. All this indicates that NSO group can break into the latest iPhones, Marsack said. One such target with an iPhone was the fiance of slain Washington Post reporter Jamal Khashoggi, according to the report. A forensic analysis of Hattis Senzig's iPhone found evidence of multiple breaches starting in early October 2018, immediately following Khashoggi's assassination on October 2nd, 2018. Why do people say the iPhone is the more safe phone that no one can hack? Sengiz asked Washington Post reporter Diana Priest in a recent PBS Frontline segment regarding the spyware. That's what Apple says, the company. Priest responds, that's not true. And here's the PBS Frontline interview with her. And we'll watch this for a few minutes.
On October 2nd, 2018, journalist Jamal Khashoggi walked into the Saudi consulate in Turkey and never came back out. Around the time of his murder, a powerful spyware may have been used to surveil his family.
Activists, journalists, all are said to have been hacked by spyware developed by the Israeli company called the NSO Group.
A consortium of news outlets from around the world, including Frontline, have been investigating the use of the spyware called Pegasus and the Israeli company NSO Group that sells it to foreign governments.
The government can see anything on the phone, including pictures, contacts, listening into calls.
As part of the investigation into Pegasus, Washington Post reporter Dana Priest traveled to Istanbul. Working with the journalism nonprofit Forbidden Stories, the reporters were given access to 50,000 phone numbers concentrated in countries known to be NSO clients. They included journalists, politicians, human rights activists, and Jamal Khashoggi's fiancée, Hatice Cengiz. Dana Priest and a producer working for Frontline and Forbidden Stories met with Hatice to verify if her phone had in fact been hacked.
What I'm doing is basically a backup, and based on this backup, we will look if there is any trace of infection, past or current. What we're looking for is traces of a software called Pegasus.
I remember the first days after the murder, a lot of times they try to hack my email. And then Gmail was sending to me emails that time. Someone tried to open your account or something like that.
The simple ones are like that message. The really sophisticated ones, they don't need a message. They don't need you to do anything.
Really?
Yeah.
But why people say the iPhone, the more safe to, no one can hack or...
That's what the iPhone says, the company. It's not true. So the Pegasus software can, if it gets inside, I don't know if it gets inside every time it tries, but if it gets inside, it can turn your microphone on so that it can, whoever is doing it can listen to what you're saying and what other people are saying. But it also can go into your email, your WhatsApp, your contacts, your pictures, your videos, and it can just steal them all, make a copy of everything. And then, you know, our thought is if it's doing that against people like you, who are not terrorists or criminals, then why? Part of what we want to show, what we think we know, what we are discovering, and what we're researching is, no, they use it against civilians. And why would they want to know what you're doing?
Yes, it's my personal life. It's my secret life. It is not enough to say, please stop after this murder. Please, Yani, it's over.
Welcome, Nasser.
After getting backups of both Hatice's new phone and the one she was using at the time of Khashoggi's murder, Dana Priest sent them to Amnesty International's security lab for analysis. A few hours later, while on the way back to the airport, she received a call with the results.
Hi. I guess this spree of bad news is never ending. So I checked both the uploads. The new one seems clean to me. The old fixes that's inconsistent with what we've seen.
Oh.
So on the 6th of October of 2018 seems to have been a first compromise, which was followed by some additional traces on the 9th and then on the 12th, which is obviously, as you know, pretty timely within the context, obviously.
Yeah. Wow. She's already been infected, so it's already happened, so it's great that you're finding it.
Yeah, I don't think...
There was now proof that Pegasus had been used to target one of the people closest to Jamal Khashoggi around the time of his death. In a statement, NSO Group said its technology was not associated in any way with Khashoggi's murder. The company said it was on a life-saving mission, preventing terror attacks and serious crimes. But in addition to Hatice, Frontline, Forbidden Stories, and the partner news outlets are investigating the cases of journalists, human rights activists, politicians, and others in more than 50 countries who may have been targeted for surveillance.
Wow. Pretty amazing. I think the complicity of the Israeli government in permitting Pegasus to be sold to these repressive regimes like Saudi Arabia and others who are using it on their people is a great violation of human rights. Obviously, Israel knew what was going on and permitted the company to distribute this software. Also, many of the employees of Pegasus are former Mossad or military people in the government. So there's, although the Israeli government denies having anything to do with it, there's direct link between the staff of this company, NSO, which produced Pegasus, and the Israeli government. And obviously then there is complicity, if not active, then passive complicity. So let's look at some more information about now. There's a lot more this week, more things came out. So let's see now what it says specifically about your iPhone. This is a group of technicians who are discussing this topic, and they talk more specifically about the iPhone and the Android phones and how worried should you be. It's kind of a talk show format, so it's a little informal, but it's very full of really good information for us. So let me share the screen and we'll have a look at this video. And also online, I found there are specific things you can do to check your iPhone to see if it is infected. So let's check out this video.
Simon, as well as Computer World Executive Editor Ken Mingus. We're live on Computer World's LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube on IDG Tech Talk, the YouTube channel. So if you have any questions while we're discussing, please do let us know in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them while we are live. So in transitioning to the topic of the day, my phone randomly stopped working. Would have cost way too much money to replace the display. Got a new phone, and I think I can safely say that my brand new phone, my brand new iPhone 12, is not infected with Pegasus spyware. So, do either of you kind of want to
hold
go
it
over?
up? You got to show the.
Here it is. Here it is. Not in focus. Beautiful. Love it so far. Very fast.
That's the regular one, not the Pro.
Correct. Not the Pro.
Oh, Juliet,
And-
I don't know. You could have gone pro.
I could have. It didn't make sense. I got
mean,
128 gigs.
I don't disagree with that. They're very similar. Those two. The main thing is you're getting an extra camera.
Yeah.
That's the largest difference. And now that the 12 and the 12 mini have OLED screens, I mean, it's difficult to make that leap, because unless you're a super advanced or a super serious photographer, the 12 takes fantastic photos.
Is there any difference in video quality in terms of capturing video, Michael? Between the
I
12
don't
and
believe
12?
so. I mean, I don't quite remember, but I think they're the same. It's
You know,
just
the
zoom. It's the zoom lens. So I guess if you want to talk about zooming on videos, there's that. But even that, the zoom lens isn't. It's not like you're getting like 10x. You're getting, it's a couple of steps. So the 12, it's really good. And the only caveat there is it's not that much different in price. So you say, all right, should I get it? Should I? I think you made the right choice.
I think I did too, and I had a
What
very
did you have
helpful
What did you have
10s.
A 10S. Okay, so that lasted you what, like 3 years?
Almost 3 years, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So very
Well, that's when Apple
helpful
starts,
store.
sending out its messages to slow
Customers.
everything down and shut things off, right?
Exactly. It worked. See, another
Yeah.
satisfied customer.
So Pegasus Spyware, it's like, do any of you want to talk about it just like for a little bit, just like kind of like high level what it is and why the general population absolutely should not be concerned? I know I made like a one-off joke that my phone is not infected with it, but what is it?
Michael, you want to go first? You guys have written about this a little bit.
We wrote about it. We didn't cover it a lot because, like Julia says, it's not a thing. This isn't one of those things that you can accidentally get on the internet by clicking the wrong link or something or downloading the wrong app. Listen, all of this is alleged. We'll start by saying that. But there was an investigation by the Washington Post and Amnesty International and some other nonprofit groups and organizations, and they looked at iPhones of journalists and higher level ranking people and military people, and they found that there was this spyware on there. Now it's called Pegasus. And on some phones, there was an attempted hack and it didn't work, and some they got through. And it was related to, I'm gonna mess up the guy's name, Jamal Khashoggi.
Khashoggi, yeah.
He was killed, and it's an ongoing investigation as to who did it, but it's pretty much settled that he was killed. And as part of that investigation, they found that journalists who were reporting on it, investigating it, and high-level officials related to it were tapped by let me get the name of the group right. They deny it, but it's Israel-based NSO group.
Right.
Was the company that they're saying did this and targeted these phones. I'm not sure how they got the spyware remotely on these people's phones. I haven't found anything that says in detail how that happened, whether it was a link or an app or some kind of a Wi-Fi flaw that they used. I don't know how they did it, but it was very specifically targeted to certain people. The Post's investigation only looked at about 40 smartphones, and of those 40, there were a few iPhones on the list, maybe 20 or so, about half. And of those 20, only about 10 or 12 were infected successfully. So even amongst that group, it's a smaller list. But the larger issue here is that people are using this to say, oh, well, the iPhone is supposed to be secure and it's not. And that's a leap and a half, because this is the kind of thing where you can say, listen, if somebody wants to hack into your laptop and they're determined to do it, they probably can.
Well, especially if it's like a government agency with a lot of money.
And tools and forensics and all that stuff.
No device is going to be 100% secure like that against something like that.
And Apple doesn't say it is.
Yeah.
The claims Apple make is that it's safer and more private than other phones, and it is. But in this instance, of course, it's a piece of technology. Anything can be hacked. Anything can be vulnerable to an attack if someone is determined to get into your phone or your laptop or whatever it is, your thermostat. I mean, if somebody's targeting you, you're gonna probably not win. That's the lesson here.
And just to provide a little bit of context around what the actual spyware is, this is straight from Amnesty International. And this is a quote from their deputy director for Amnesty Tech, saying that I think what's really unique about this particular malware is that so their forensic analysis uncovered irrefutable evidence that through iMessage zero-click attacks, the spyware has successfully infected iPhone 11 and 12 models. So what's unique about this is that it's not like you clicked a rogue link.
Right.
It was just, I mean, it seems like it's kind of up in the air how it actually, like the mechanics of it necessarily.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
not,
I don't know exactly how they got it onto the phone.
Exactly. Yeah. Besides iMessage zero-click, because usually, I mean, I think it's probably common for a lot of people to get spam text messages and even spam iMessages. I know that I have experienced some spam iMessages recently, and it's so frustrating being in a big group chat. They send a link and you just block every single number, but it's a pain. So,
but that I don't think it was that. I think it was way more sophisticated than that.
Yeah. Sure.
Like it wasn't.
It's not a spam iMessage coming in.
Right. It's not like, hey, you just won a new boat. Click here. Yeah. It's like, oh no, now I have Pegasus. No, that's not what's happening here.
Totally.
I mean, they might have used the iMessage. It's a kind of a format or the architecture or whatever it is to get into the phone, but I doubt they just sent a text and hoped somebody clicked on something. Well, they said zero-click, so it wasn't even that. Yeah. So
I should note that I think you guys at Macworld have a story about if you want to check and see, you're among the elite who are being spied on. That
we did, and like I did it mainly because I just felt like we should. Because there are people who probably care, but the article is filled with references like, dude, you do not need to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Well, we actually have a comment from LinkedIn. They're asking, how do they know if they are infected with it? And I'll throw the link to the
you can. There's a way to find out. You have to go into the terminal on a Mac, do some command line stuff, install a couple of things and run something to see, and you're using the backup, your latest backup, the iPhone. It's not an easy process. It's not like you go to a web page and you type in your phone number and you check. Like it's a process.
Basically. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say again, unless you're involved in this specific case or any kind of high-ranking global stuff, like you're going to be okay.
Like maybe executive editor at Macworld. I don't know. Could it be?
It's only English language, Ken.
Yeah. The point I was going to make, though, to the question from the viewer, is that to be able to check your phone, you have to be doing backups, connecting the phone to your computer,
to your Mac,
so that there is a backup on your Mac that you then run through this process of using the terminal, and it scans for specific files or a file that indicates that the spyware is there. So, if Juliet, I'm sure you can drop that link in so that, if they want to check it themselves, they can do it. It's the Macworld story.
So I think now just sort of, using this as an opportunity to just talk about iPhone security more broadly. Obviously Apple does pride itself on being the not foolproof secure, but the most secure, cell phone that you can have, mobile phone that you can have. And I know that there's tons of examples in the past of Apple, refusing to cooperate with government agencies that want to unlock a phone. And
even in those cases, they have been successful in unlocking phones without
through a third party.
Yes, that's right. So there are tools out there. Again, if somebody wants to get into your stuff, they're gonna figure out a way to do it.
The big debate around Apple right now is that government agencies have called on Apple to install a backdoor that theoretically only the agencies would have access to. Yeah, right. And of course, Apple's like, no way, because as we well know, anytime you install a backdoor, eventually it gets leaked or cracked or broken into, and everybody's vulnerable. So Apple is not going to help government agencies make it easier down the road to get into iPhones. That's an ongoing debate that ever since that shooter on the West Coast had an iPhone and the police wanted to get into it and Apple said no. And I think there were even some court cases and eventually the cops got into it anyway.
Yeah, they dropped it because they figured out a way to do it without Apple's help.
Right. It was quicker than going to court, going all the way up maybe to the Supreme Court to try to get this, resolved.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it probably will get to the Supreme Court. And I think, Apple is probably on the right side here, when it comes to the legality and law enforcement and things like that, even if we are talking about terrorists and threats to civilians and populations and countries, I don't think Apple has any duty to say, yeah, here's a way to get into any phone that you want to get into. Just, keep it amongst yourselves. Yeah. Like Apple has shared information that's not encrypted. There is certain iCloud information that is backed up that is unencrypted, and they do share that when law enforcement comes knocking. But as far as, iMessage and the things that people, cops and FBI officials generally want to see, that's all. So that's what they want. Now, in this instance, in the Pegasus thing, I don't know what they were using I don't know what information they were trying to get. My guess is that stuff, communication, texts and phone numbers and stuff like that. But I don't know exactly what that Pegasus thing, maybe it was location stuff. They were tracking where they were. I don't know. I didn't admittedly go through the whole entire investigation because it's very technical and it doesn't really concern most people. But now there's also two issues at play here. There's security and privacy. They're different. So Apple, the iPhone is secure, and because of the App Store, and because and Apple's fighting this right now, the inability to sideload apps. Right. The iPhone is inherently more secure than an Android phone. Now Google has a lot of safeguards in place to stop people from installing bad apps, and they absolutely discourage it. And you have to know what you're doing to get them on there, but you can do it. And that's generally where malware starts, is in an app that was created specifically to put malware on your phone. And someone downloads it unwittingly and it spreads. Apple, you can't do that on an iPhone, but there are web exploits that are constantly being patched. We just got iOS 14.7 this week. And if you look at the security notes, there's a bunch of them. There's no operating system that's inherently 100% secure, and Apple knows that. Everyone knows that. But apart from that, Apple makes sure, in my opinion, better than any other phone maker, that the stuff that's on your phone is, or the personal information that's on your phone is as secure as it can be. There's a lot of on-device stuff. There's a lot of encryption, and they make sure that even if the worst thing happens and you get hacked and you get malware or some vulnerability is open, most of the stuff that you're going to care about is local, and somebody would need physical access to your iPhone to get it.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, have you heard about, just talking generally about Apple security and especially around, I guess, iOS, this thing from Checkpoint Software, the malware as a service, Xloader, Johnny Evans.
It's just today. I haven't dove into it yet.
Yeah, Johnny Evans on Computer World has a blog post about it, and it's the sort of thing that malware in the sense that it can harvest browser logins, keystrokes, and apparently download and executes malware. So just a reminder that yes, Apple is more secure and does take privacy seriously, but this is a revolving.
Just to be clear, that's a Mac thing, I believe.
Oh, it's a Mac. I'm sorry, you're right. You're right. It's not iOS, Mac.
And on the Mac, because of the inherent nature of Mac OS, viruses are way more prevalent. They're still not, Windows maybe I don't know the exact numbers. Windows is really secure as well, right? But compared to iOS, there's way more Mac viruses because you can download things from.
Yeah, they're not nearly to the level that iOS is in terms of protecting hardware. But the larger point being that this is like a game of cops and robbers that never ends. It's like hardware manufacturer and software manufacturers, they put in place all of these securities, the wall, the moat, whatever, And then, you know, malware, bad actors, they jump over it, they go around it, they go under it. Then there's another round of protecting against whatever. And it just sort of goes on and on and on.
Mhm.
You know, I do think that, to circle back briefly to Pegasus, I think the thing that caught people's eyes there was that it was, you didn't have to do anything. You really weren't downloading anything. You weren't responding to an email or message. It just showed up. And you know, we still haven't quite seen a lot of detail about how it just showed up. And I think until we do, we don't know, you know, again, if you're not a world leader or a New York Times journalist or somebody working for the Financial Times or something like that, investigating God knows what, you're almost certainly, who cares what, you know, what my recipe list is, you know? But the fact that it can be done, you know, if something like this does pop up on the dark web, and then, you know, somebody finds some other use for it, you know, you do want to try to plug these holes as quickly as you can.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Apple can necessarily, I don't know if this is a hole to plug per se. It could just be an inherent flaw in the way it's written because, again, this was specifically designed for a specific purpose on a specific, you know, because they did it on Android and iPhone. It might be a case where, you know, Apple can throw up safeguards and stuff, but if somebody wants to do this, that's, you know, that's why this story is so interesting, and I'm curious to see where it goes as far as arrests, because you know, this stuff is illegal. You know, we treat it as, oh my God, my iPhone's unsafe, maybe, but it's also, you know, these are people that are breaking the law to bring down people, and we need to figure out why that is, and you know, what's going on there.
We've got two questions, they're related, from YouTube specifically about iCloud and encryption. So this viewer asked, they were curious, I think circling back to what one of you said, that's not all iCloud data is encrypted. They wanted to know what is unencrypted. And then as a follow-up to that, iCloud, they're just, you know, iCloud doesn't use end-to-end encryption for what is encrypted. Is that right? What is the significance of that in terms of security? So we can start from the top. What is not encrypted in iCloud data?
I sure hope Michael knows that, because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pull it up quick. So when it's being transmitted, everything's encrypted. When it goes to Apple's servers, the iCloud servers, everything is stored.
In transit, you mean?
Yeah. And here's the thing. So Apple has a list. Here's what is 100% fully encrypted. So Apple Card transactions. So if you use your Apple credit card, home data, which is the home app, health data, which is the health app, iCloud keychain, all your accounts, your passwords, your usernames, all that stuff. Maps, location data within Maps, Memoji, so people won't be able to get to your little characters. Payment stuff, all the credit card stuff. You know, when you click Touch ID, that's all secure enclave stuff. Quick type keyboard learned vocabulary. So if you type in a word that they're looking for over and over and over again, and it learns something, it won't be able to get to that. Safari history, iCloud tabs, of course. Screen time stuff, so they won't know what apps you're using. Wi-Fi passwords, and W1 and H1 Bluetooth keys, which is the devices that you're connecting to. Most people, it's just AirPods, but there are other ones. Yeah. Let me look to see if they don't list. Okay, so here's one that's not encrypted, is mail. And so
ironically,
yeah, so when the mail, when you're backing up your mail, when it goes to Apple, that transmission process is encrypted, but on the server, it's not. It specifically says right here, consistent with standard industry practice, iCloud does not encrypt data stored on IMAP mail servers. All Apple email clients support optional MIME encryption, so you can set it up yourself. But mail, in its regular form, the way most people use it, and you have a MAC address. Now, the mail app, you don't have to use the mail app. You don't have to use an IMAP address. You can use POP and all sorts of other ones. So, but if you're using an iCloud address or one of the older ones, you know, like I have a .mac and .me and, you know, whatever else, that's not encrypted. So they can look at your emails. Other than that, it looks like most other stuff is backup, Safari history, calendars, contacts, Find My, messages, of course. notes, photos, reminders, theory shortcuts. Yeah, so these are all encrypted both in transit and on the server. The only major thing I see here is mail, which could be a big one. You know, that could be something that people want to see.
Totally. Yeah, because their follow-up question to that is, what is the significance of that in terms of security? I think that's mostly talking about an end-to-end encryption, but I mean, just broadly.
It's the end-to-end encryption is important. The encrypted stuff. So the bigger issue at play here is if you're arrested and someone needs to get something on your iPhone and you refuse to unlock it and they can't unlock it. They could go to Apple within, I think it's 7 days or something. I don't know how long. I forget that there's a time period that Apple can access the latest backup. And so they can give them the stuff that they have, which isn't much. And, you know, that's what all these cases are about, because the cops want access to more of it, because that's you know, everything they would want to know about you is on your phone.
Sure. That is definitely true, and probably why malware is so appealing. Yeah,
I mean, for the most part, that's generally what people are using it for. Usually they're using it to steal passwords, to try to get into accounts. In this instance, that it was much more nefarious than that.
Or
but for the most part,
purposes.
For the most part, people just want to get your Netflix password and try it on a bunch of other things to see if they can steal some stuff and buy some things from Amazon. I mean, it's usually pretty simple what people are trying to do.
The point that you've made is, you know, the reason that there's so much interest in cracking phones because everything's on there. That's exactly the reason that Tim Cook has offered up over and over again that your whole life is on your phone. We're going to do everything we can to protect that data as if it were, you know, the most valuable thing you've got, because it is. It's your health data and your location data and, you know, financial transactions. And so, you know, you really do have to wall that stuff off because it's all in one little place in your pocket.
Yeah. So I guess as we're kind of wrapping up here, I guess I'm kind of curious, like, what the Apple response will be. I mean, the response from, you know, a human person at Apple, at least in the Washington Post, was them, you know, defending the Apple security, which makes a lot of sense. But I wonder, like, it doesn't really seem like this is something that can necessarily be like fixed with like a security patch. But I guess I'm just wondering, like, I don't know, how does this affect their security reputation? It's definitely not great.
My guess is not at all. It's like this will, you know, it'll go away for one thing in the news. It won't be, it's a news cycle. This is part of the news cycle this week. It'll go away. Apple responded to the Washington Post story, and I thought I thought the Post story was a little unfair. You know, they kind of took it and applied a real broad stroke to that. I think that's it. You know, I don't think we'll hear anything more specifically about this. I'm sure that there are a team of engineers working on whatever exploit was exploited, working on fixing it. And you know, iOS 15 will have a bunch of updates. Like, they're constantly working on that stuff. Security is a constant thing on the Android side as well. I mean, Google has monthly security updates. In fact, Google updates their security more regularly than Apple does. So it's a thing that both major smartphone OS manufacturers are extremely serious about and are constantly working on getting as perfect as it can be. But it's never going to get to the point where it's 100% foolproof.
No, but even and to make the point, you know, even if Apple never says another word about Pegasus or NSO or this particular flaw, you know, when it rolls out updates and security updates, you know, a lot of things kind of get lumped in together. So it may very well figure out how this happened and plug that hole. But they're not going to make a big announcement about it.
Yeah, and you can look at the security updates and see it'll be, you know, CR 6946779X, and, you know, they'll give some, you know, arcane language, and it could be that. Who knows? But yeah, they're not going to come out and say anything. I don't think they'll come out and say anything. Just one quick note on that, what we were just talking about, the iCloud stuff. Yeah. So there are two types of backups for the iPhone. iCloud, we were talking about iCloud, which is what you do is when you turn on your iCloud, the backup button on your phone, and it backs up every night. You can also opt to go to plug it into your Mac and and back up that way. It's a little different now. It used to be iTunes, now it's not. but that's encrypted. That's on your Mac, 100% encrypted.
Right.
But the and 100% end-to-end encryption. That's foolproof, if you will. On iCloud, it's not totally encrypted. There was reports that they were looking into doing that, and I'm sure they still are. But I guess it's a little trickier with servers and things. And I mean, I don't know the numbers, but it's a lot of it is encrypted, but they can't say it's fully end-to-end encrypted because it's not.
Yeah, I can vouch for the fact that backing up your phone to your laptop or computer is encrypted, because I almost forgot the password and I would have had to start my new phone over from back to normal. So
you can't get into it either. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I really couldn't. And also no one at Apple was at the Apple store or chat was able to help me.
No, they don't have that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on you, Julia.
I found the password. I not found it, but found it after racking my brain, and success. I didn't have to re-download every single app I'd ever had. But yeah, I think I realized maybe this is too encrypted.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that. Just get a password manager and keep it stored in there.
Just stick it on a sticky note. Put it on your computer screen.
Put it on here.
Yeah, perfect.
You can send it to us. We'll keep it. We'll keep it for you.
But no, it's always good. I know it. And that's a good
joke.
That's a good point, Julia, because a lot of people say, "Oh, this is too much of a hassle," and it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. Get a password manager. Use strong, unique passwords for as many websites as you go to. Even if it's some crazy, wacky string of numbers that you're never going to remember, those password managers are fantastic. And Apple has some stuff built into Safari, and just they're like $30 a year. Most of them, 1Password, Dashlane. There's a bunch of them out there. LastPass, they're all good, and you'll never have to worry about 1, 2, 3, 4, my birthday. Like it'll all be stored there. It's all very, very convenient and easy. And you can store notes. You can store, like in Juliet's case, the iTunes encrypted. She can have a note for that. It's important, and it's that stuff is all end-to-end encrypted on your phone. No one can touch it unless they get into that. And then again, they have to into your phone and into the app. So you have a master key for all that stuff. Like they're very, very good. Can't recommend them enough.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. That's good advice.
Yeah. Brandon, a security themed episode with some genuine security advice. Couldn't ask for anything better. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting. Yeah, iPhone security, spyware, and I guess we'll see if anything really comes of it. But regardless, I really appreciate it. So thank you both so much.
Sure.
And thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you are watching over on LinkedIn, you can head over to our YouTube channel, IDG Tech Talk, and you can subscribe over there. We're live over there as well. And you can like the episode there and hit the bell icon so you're notified every single time we post a new video. If we didn't get to your question and you still have one, please do leave it in the comments. Or if you're watching this after we're live, leave the question in the comments and I'll get back to you. Especially if you're on YouTube, I will almost definitely get back to you over on YouTube. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.
That was really interesting and very, very important information about encryption with the iPhone and on your computer. This group, Tech Talk, is somebody I'm going to pay more attention to, because the information is really, really very helpful. So we have more thing to talk about, and that is to finish up what we didn't have time for last week, which is discussing the relationship between Israel and 9/11 when we did our 9/11 commemorative story. So what I'm going to be showing you now is an excellent video by Whitney Webb, who's an extremely important reporter for breaking alternative news sources that mainstream will not cover. So thank you, Nasser and Sheikh, for being with us on Facebook. I sent this message out very late, so nobody's here, but hopefully I'll be able to fix my computer storage problem and be able to upload this program on YouTube because this is like really a super important issue for all of us to protect ourselves from hacking and spyware. Anyhow, here's Whitney Webb's fascinating video that discusses the connection between
reporter Whitney Webb. Hey, Whitney, how you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm doing well. Great to be with y'all.
Oh, great to have you again. Can you explain to me? You did a piece about this, but I want to go through this factually because you are a great reporter. What's the deal? Take us through the dancing Israeli story with as little conjecture. What do we know for sure about the so-called dancing Israelis?
Okay, so this story, I did a report about it in May because there was a Freedom of Information, a FOIA request that a private citizen actually obtained that showed these photos about this case that had been known for some time but had really gotten buried. And actually in the immediate aftermath of September 11th, there was a lot of, there was mainstream media coverage of this case because basically what had happened is that in the Doric apartment complex in Union City, New Jersey, I think 1 or 2 minutes after the first plane struck the World Trade Center, people at that apartment complex saw 5 men who were celebrating and high-fiving and taking pictures on top of a van and posing in front of the towers while the attacks were ongoing. And and some of those witnesses later called the police, and these men were subsequently arrested. They were all later revealed to be Israeli nationals. They claimed to be there on a working holiday, working for a company called Urban Moving Systems. And Urban Moving Systems, after the FBI's investigation into these men started, was revealed to be a front for the Mossad. And they believed that they were conducting a quote surveillance mission for the Mossad. And 2 of the men arrested came up in a CIA FBI database of foreign intelligence operatives and were known to be known members of the Mossad. And they were celebrating on 9/11. One of the eyewitnesses at the apartment complex said that their van had been there as early as 8 a.m., which is, over 40 minutes before, the first attack or the first plane hit the building, and that they'd been there waiting for several minutes. One of the men, according to the FBI, had visited the apartment complex the day before the attacks. And there is a lot of other really disturbing information in this FBI report. It's like 600 pages, so it's really hard to go over everything that FBI report contains, but you can find it on archive.org. I linked to it in my report on it. But in these pictures, we see some really disturbing poses. So one of these guys, who's believed to be either Sivan Kurzberg or his brother, Paul Kurzberg, are holding a lighter in front of the building as it's on fire. And, they're pointing and posing. The FBI said that in the pictures that were developed, they were all, quote, visibly happy and jovial. Are the words that they used. And then, of course, the FBI asked, this was a really heavily redacted FBI report, by the way, and it didn't come out, I don't believe, until 2011, that report specifically, when it was publicly released. But one of the questions in there it asked in the FBI report is, did the Israeli nationals have foreknowledge of the events at the World Trade Center, and were they filming the events prior to and in anticipation of the explosion? And the answer to that question is 1.5 pages, and it was redacted in its entirety. So wow. That strongly suggests that the FBI did not determine the answer to be a simple no. And I think that is really telling, as is the fact that this story was very quickly buried. And there are a lot of other odd things that were reported in connection with the arrest of these individuals. Sorry, if I can just continue really quick. Yeah. One of the men, when they were arrested, he was found to have a sock stuffed with $4,700 in cash. They had box cutters, even though they were working for this supposed moving company. They had no equipment typically used in a moving company's daily duties, according to the FBI. And a bomb sniffing dog found found presence of explosive traces in their van. So this is just some of the stuff that's in this FBI report. I would encourage everyone who is shocked by what they're hearing right now to please read it if you have the time. Just go straight to the source document. Don't take my word for it. It's there.
Okay.
Another thing I want to bring up, which could lead us to a segue to the Epstein stuff that I did recently, is that the company's owner, the owner of this Mossad front company where these celebrating Israelis worked, his name was Dominic Suter, and 2 days after he was questioned by the FBI, that entire company was abandoned. Just everything was left behind, and this guy was an Israeli citizen, the owner of the company. He fled back to Israel, but in 2016 he came back to the United States, and since then he has been living in the San Francisco Bay Area. He works for a major contractor of major tech companies like Google and Microsoft, which themselves are also U.S. government contractors. And prior to that, he worked for a telecommunications company called Granite Telecommunications that works for the U.S. military and a bunch of other government agencies.
Okay,
and
so
apparently that's fine.
Okay, so a couple of things I just want to check on this. So first off, when you say I want to be clear. The FBI said that this company, this moving company, you said Urban Moving, is that what it is?
Urban Moving Systems.
Urban Moving Systems.
The FBI
okay.
said that.
Okay, the FBI said it was a Mossad front, correct?
Yes, yes. The direct quote is that this company, quote, we're conducting a Mossad surveillance mission, and that their employer, Urban Moving Systems of Weehawken, New Jersey, served as a front, end quote. That's
okay, then you mentioned the media coverage of this. What I would say, Garland, that seems like a very big story, wouldn't you?
Gigantic.
That the Mossad, a spy agency, that the FBI said it. This is, as Whitney says, this is not just somebody calling into a radio show saying that. And she's urging people read the actual FBI report, which, by the way, tell people where they can find your article so they can get to that, Whitney.
We republished it on Mint Press News just yesterday because I knew I was going to be doing this interview. So you can just go to the Mint Press News website. It's like the first or second story up when you scroll down below the top story.
And I will also put it on my Twitter feed with a link to it in case somebody is too lazy to type in mintpressnews.com and read that, which is possible. Because some people may be, some people are busy.
That happens.
Yeah, it does happen. But I will put that on there. But the fact that, look, just talk about, you've researched this story. What was the media reaction to this? Was there big coverage at places like the mainstream media, New York Times and so on, where they did investigative pieces following up on it, tracking it down, the Washington Post, or new media? Did the Breitbart News or any, who covered this?
Oh, and add one other thing to that, if you would, when you're doing that. I understand there was some media coverage that some of these people were actually on TV in Israel. So in the media coverage here, could also add the Israel too.
Okay, so in the U.S., there was a Fox News investigative report in December 2001 that was done by Carl Cameron. It's really hard to find right now, but you can still find an archive version on YouTube. And they discussed the arrest of these Israeli nationals, as well as other Israeli surveillance operations and Mossad operations going on in New York City at the time that 9/11 took place. You can find it out if you look up Israeli software spying on US, Amdocs, Converse, Infosys, Carl Cameron. If you put that into YouTube, it should come up. So please, I encourage you to watch that. They ask a lot of questions, and basically what Carl Cameron concluded is that, well, he was told by a top government official anyway, and he says this in the report, that there was no way that the Mossad could not have known that the attacks were going to happen, is basically what the conclusion of that report was, that they clearly had foreknowledge of this attack. And then ABC News also did a story about Urban Moving Systems and the vans, and about the people celebrating, and it's mentioned in there, but you can only find that as an archived news report. It was on ABC, but I include that in the report as well. So like in the third paragraph of my report, or no, sorry, the second paragraph of my report, I talk about coverage in the mainstream media, and I provide 3 links there. So follow those.
You didn't mention you didn't mention the whether or not because I'd heard that some of those people had gone on television or a talk show or something. Israel,
do you know? Yeah, I'm getting there. Okay. Getting there now. They went on an Israeli after they were released from the U.S. They were deported, and even though there was resistance to sending them back to Israel, but apparently a deal was struck between the U.S. and the Israeli government that had them sent back. But basically, they went on TV and basically trying to explain their experience and things like that. And one of them said that the reason they had been there taking pictures is that they were sent there to document the event. That was the quote. Document.
And what time, we know what time that's, the event happened, between 8 and 9. What time, do we know what time they arrived at the location that they were, ostensibly, I guess, to watch the event?
Well, so one of the main eyewitnesses here who called the FBI said that as soon as she heard the explosion from the plane, she looked out her window and she saw, the first tower on fire. And then she looked down and saw these guys. So they had been there minutes before, at least, to be in that position. They were parked on top of a van, so it seems like they must have been there at least a couple minutes before. But then, as I mentioned earlier, there was one eyewitness who said that they saw their van and saw them around the van as early as 8 a.m., which would be around 46 minutes or so before the first plane hit the first tower.
Now, let's say, as we seg to the Jeff Epstein reporting, let's talk about Ehud Barak for a second. Where was Ehud Barak, 9/11, 2001? Do you remember? Do you know what? Because I've seen Ehud Barak. His name has come up in connection with 9/11. Have you seen that?
Yeah, but I haven't looked into his role or his, what he was doing and all that stuff specifically. I know that he was pretty much the first person on national U.S. TV to say Osama bin Laden was responsible for 9/11.
Yeah, which just note that. And again, are you saying that? I want to be clear. What are you, just do this and then we'll move on to the Epstein stuff. What are you not saying here? Let's just be clear on that. What are you not, so you're saying the FBI report says all this stuff. Where are you not willing to go on this story? Where are you willing to go and where are you willing not to go?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that there was Mossad foreknowledge of the event, and there was a cover-up of that, because not only were these guys arrested in 9/11 in the New York metropolitan area, there were a total of 60 Israeli nationals. We know that there was surveillance, unusual Mossad activity in the country and in New York during that time. This is also following up after the wiretapping by Israel of the White House and a bunch of other things going on. We also know that things like Jeffrey Epstein's sexual blackmail operation was also going on during this time. So I think it is, there's a lot to be asked here. And the fact that this was never meaningfully investigated, I think is really, really troubling. I think at the very least, it strongly suggests foreknowledge of Israeli intelligence of what was going on in 9/11. The fact that that these individuals chose to celebrate that, I think is really troubling. And when you look at the official reason these guys said they were celebrating, what they told the FBI anyway, they basically said that they thought that now Americans would not be naive anymore and that they would understand why Israel is the way it is. And that is basically what Netanyahu said just a few days after the attack. So there was a lot of, and Netanyahu also, I think it was in 2008, he said, we are benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and the American struggle in Iraq. His first reaction, Netanyahu, he wasn't prime minister at the time, but when he was asked, I think by the New York Times, his first reaction was to say, it's very good about 9/11. And then he quickly added, well, not very good, but it will generate immediate sympathy.
Wow. Really, really, really interesting stuff that hopefully we can follow up on future programs. Particularly, I'm interested in the Jeffrey Epstein sexual blackmailing situation and the consequences that had for Palestine. where Israel was basically given free rein to acquire more illegal land, more settlements. This is a period of great expansion of Israeli settlements. As if you read in the ticker running under her report, that it was around this time that Israel decided to expand its illegal settlements, and it got away with it because people in the government were being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein. So anyhow, I think this has been a very useful program in terms of practical advice for you in how to handle encryption and how to protect yourself from hackers, as well as an insight into the Israeli technology, which has been used for nefarious purposes and is being exported, as is his weapons, to repressive regimes around the world, but only after experimenting them on the Palestinians, who are Israelis' guinea pigs for their nefarious products. So thank you for joining today. Hi, Javed Khan on Facebook. Sorry, the Facebook, I inadvertently ended the session before Whitney's program was over. So, but I recorded it, continued to record it. So that's a very important program to watch. It's Whitney Webb, and you can just look it up on YouTube, Whitney Webb on 9/11. It's worth watching actually a couple of times, tragically, to watch it, that Mossad could have warned America about this event. So thank you for watching, and go back up your phones, your computer, download all the latest. Okay, take care. See you next week. Bye.